Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be recording a bench fold card tutorial for Cricut Design Space. I love using this program to create my cards and create the bases for my cards. It saves me from measuring, it saves me from not getting straight lines, and I just love it. For anyone interested, I'm going to be walking through all the steps to use the software to create this card. So here we go. So to start, we're going to open a brand new project in Cricut Design Space. If you've never used Cricut Design Space, this tutorial is going to be pretty basic. We're going to go to Shapes on the left-hand side here, click on that, and select the square, and that will automatically add in a square into our design space. As you can see in the bottom left-hand corner, there's this lock button here. When you have a square or any of the other shapes in Cricut Design Space, the dimensions are fixed. So when you adjust the size, you can see that the measurements on both sides of it remain the same, so it remains a square. But when you unlock that lock button, you're able to actually adjust it to make a rectangle or make it not a proportionate shape. So you can see along the side here also we have numbers. Those actually correspond to inches in real life, as well as the marks on your Cricut cut mats, which makes it really helpful for planning out projects and making sure they'll fit on your mat and knowing exactly how big something's going to be. So in order to make the first piece here, we're going to make the backing to our bench fold card, and we're actually going to make a piece that is 5 inches high or 5 inches wide by 10 inches long. So I'm just going to drag it so it meets up with the 10 along the top and the 5 along the left hand side. You can also see you've got measurements that show up that show us how many inches it is on the side. So if you didn't want to put it right into the corner of your project and you adjust it, you can see those numbers going up and down. I find it's a little bit easier just to line it up with the rulers. It takes a little bit less time for me, but whatever works for you and whatever's going to make it easier for you is what you should go with, I guess. So what I'm going to start by doing is I'm going to be adding some score lines to this, and this dark color makes it hard for me to see the score line. So I'm actually just going to change it up to a nice gray or a blue. I went with a blue-gray first, but I'm actually going to pick a blue because the card I'm going to be eventually making with this is going to be a barbecue, but this backing piece is actually going to be more like the background to the barbecue. So I just went with a plain blue. It's pretty easy to add grass elements and that kind of stuff over it to make this look like the sky. So I'm actually going to head over to Shapes here, and I'm going to go down and hit Score Line at the bottom. And that's going to bring a score line into my design space. I'm going to click and drag that to where I need it, and these are definitely not necessary. If you don't have a scoring tool for your Cricut, you could just as easily make the score lines on your own using a regular scorer, but I have the scoring tool, and this just takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. So my first score line, I'm actually going to line up with the 1 3/4 mark along the top, so 1 and 3 ticks. I'm going to line it up along the top here, get it even, head down to the bottom, and drag it out. If you are making this card without a Cricut, the measurements are still exactly the same. You need a 5 by 10 inch piece of cardstock, and you'll need to make the score marks in the exact same space. This card, I'm not sure if I mentioned it in my intro, but it will make a bench card that will fold down to fit into a 5 by 7 envelope. So you know. So in order to make sure that we can get this score line scored on this piece of paper, we need to essentially attach it as a layer to this background. So we're going to select the score line and then select the background, so they're both selected. And then on the bottom right hand corner, we're going to hit attach. So I'll show you that again here. We're going to click on the score line, click on the background, they're both selected. Going down to hit attach down here in the bottom right hand corner, and essentially that's going to make that one item with 2 layers, the layering of the scoring and the background layer. But now if we go to move it around, they're all stuck together. So we're going to go back in, add another score line. We're going to need 4 altogether, so if you want to start off with just adding in 4, that's fine, but for the purpose of this video I wanted to keep it as simple as possible. So our next score line is going to be at 3 1/4, so the 3 at the top and 1 tick over from that. I just love that I can measure this all out. I am horrible at measuring things in real life, and my lines never end up straight, and I'm just so bad at doing it. I don't know why, but I've never really been good at doing that kind of stuff. So everything's always off, and then I have to cut it afterwards. So I love having the Cricut to be able to do it for me. So we've got that second score line on there. Now I'm going to, again, select the score line. It's already selected. Click on the blue background and hit this attach button down in the bottom right hand corner. My computer is lagging like crazy right now. I actually have a YouTube video uploading and exporting right now, so it's just taking forever, but I'm going to add in another score line here, and this is going to drag over onto the other side. So those essentially are the two score lines for that side, and then we're going to have two score lines for this side. So this one is going to go at 6 3/4 here. That's where we're going to add in the score line. Just trying to get it lined up as close as I can. It doesn't have to be exactly precise. Maybe that's why I can't get any measurements in real life right, but 6 3/4 right around that line. Drag it down to match it up at the bottom. And it doesn't matter if it really goes off the edge. It drives me a little bit nuts, but I'm just a little bit crazy. So that's just a personal preference. So there we go. We're going to select the score line and select the background and hit that attach button. There we go, everything is attached, and I do have this footage slowed down just a little bit so it's easier for me to talk through it, so it actually isn't quite this laggy in real life when you're using actual Cricut Design Space, but I do have the footage slowed down just so that I can talk over it a little bit easier. So our last score line for this piece is going to be at 8 1/4, so the 8 along the top and 1 tick past that. We are going to, as we have with all of the other ones, drag it down. And feel free, if you're just here for the measurements, I actually have the measurements posted down in my blog post, or just get the measurements and skip ahead if you already know how to do this. I'm going to attach everything back together again using that attach button. And so now we essentially have one piece. This is our backing card. Wherever we have those score lines is where we're going to make those kind of like an accordion fold. This center piece here is the back of it. The other two pieces are going to be the sides, and the farther out pieces are going to be what kind of holds the card up. Next, we're going to work on creating the bench fold piece. This one's a little bit more complicated, but not that bad. It's still pretty easy once you've got all the steps down. So I moved my backdrop out of the way so that I've got space to work with. As I said, I like to line things up with the lines along the top of the screen and the side of the screen. So I was just trying to show you, we're going to make sort of a T-shaped card. In order to get that made in Cricut Design Space, we're going to go back in and select shapes. We're going to pick a square yet again. And it's entirely possible there is another way to do this or to make this shape, but so far this is the way that I have found and how I've gotten it measured out properly. So I'm just going to keep it there. Oh, and my laptop battery is dying. Let's get that plugged in. So I'm going to hit that unlock button again. Because I don't actually want a square, I want a rectangle. I'm going to line it up in the corner, and this one we are going to make 3.5 inches on the left hand side and 7 inches along the top. So 3.5 by 7. Again, if you're making this without a Cricut or without using Cricut Design Space, those are the measurements you'll need. I'm just going to try and get it quite as close as I can get. I've got 6.986 and 3.5. I'm not too worried about that point whatever measurement that we're off. So again, because I can't really see anything showing up on this, I'm going to pick a different gray color. For this card, it will actually end up being a barbecue for Father's Day, so I've chosen a gray because this is where the barbecue is going to be. So I'm going in, picking a score line again, and this one, we're actually going to rotate it. So you can rotate it using this rotate button here and rotate it down, or you can just type in what angle you want it rotated to up at the top. So for this one, I'm going to want 90 degrees. Oops. 90 degrees for it, and I'm just trying to get this organized. Of course, my computer is in the process of dying and is not cooperating with me, so I'm actually just going to start back click that undo button, and I'm going to go in, so you could type it in up here and hit rotate to whatever angle you want it, if you know the exact angle. Sometimes for me that's a little bit easier, to make sure it's even. Again, can't get these right in real life, so Cricut is awesome for this. So we're going to put this score line at 1.5 inches. And I'm going to hit that attach button just like we did for the previous piece of the card. So the next piece here, I actually already made a mistake, so I'm very sorry for that, but I will explain that in just a second. So I'm going to go in and grab a square. And this one, we're pretty much going to kind of keep a square, but we're going to hit that unlock button anyways, just to facilitate everything. So we're going to line it up in the corner. Both pieces are lined up in the corner. Keep an eye on that. And we're going to bring it down to 1.5 inches on the left-hand side and 1.75 inches along the top edge there. And line those up as good as you can, because this is essentially going to be the piece that we're cutting out. So I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger, just to make sure I'm as close as I possibly can get, just to make sure this part of the card is even. If I'm going to make any of the measurements really, really close, this is what I'm going for. So I'm going to select that square, and you'll see here where I've made my mistake. What I'm going to do is click that slice button at the bottom of the right hand corner, but because this layer with the score line is grouped together, it's classified as 2 layers. It's not a single element anymore. So what I need to do is remove this score line first, or just detach it. I don't have to get rid of it, but I'm going to hit detach, and it's actually still there. It's just behind that piece. So I'm going to click on the gray square and hit arrange at the top and bring that to the back so you can see that score line still. So now I'm going to click that small square, click on my background, and click the slice button. Just it kind of brings everything to the front, but I can move the darker square, and you'll see we have this line on our gray square. So if we click that square there and hit delete, it's cut out that image. So if I were to put this square right in the middle and click slice, it would slice out a square right in the middle of my piece of paper. I don't quite want that, but this is where we're doing it, because I need that upside down T shape in order to make the bench of the card. So what I'm going to do is, again, drag this piece back into the corner, because I've already measured it, so I don't want to get rid of it yet. I'm going to get rid of it once we don't need it anymore. Select both items and click slice. Click on the dark square. I can get rid of that now because we don't need it anymore. Click on that one. Sometimes there's this little piece left over on the side. We're just going to delete that as well. And there we go. We have an upside down T shape for the bench portion of our card. And I'm just going to kind of move around the layers. And this score line now, I'm going to resize it to fit, because really we only need to score this bottom portion of the upside down T. I'm not sure what, but that top part there, we just need that part scored off, because that's going to be the fold. The top part here, there we go. And now I'm going to attach it all together. Sorry, the top part is going to be the essential tabletop of the bench, and the other piece is going to be the piece that comes across the front. And now we've got one whole piece all together. I can move it around. We've got our pieces cut out so that they fit within the card once we've assembled it all. One thing I will mention, if you were going to make a U-fold card, like the stable card I made last week, you could make this shape and essentially eliminate this top portion. All you would need is the bottom strip of paper in whatever height you need. You need it to be 7 inches long, but you can make it whatever height you want. I'm hoping to make a 3D barbecue card, so I want this bench part up top and the score line there to fold it down. So I'm going to set that aside. Now one thing we'll need is a brace. Sorry, I forgot what I was trying to say. We're going to need a brace to hold up the top part of the bench there. So we've got this top part of the bench, and it's going to fold down, and especially if we're going to put anything on top of it, which I plan to do, it's going to be the grill of my barbecue. So I want to put some burgers on there, some skewers, some corn on the cob, whatever else I can think of to put on there. So it's going to be a little bit heavy, and we want something to hold it up. So I'm going into shapes again, I'm going to grab another square and drag it up into the top corner again. And I'm going to actually change the color of this to the same color as I've got this upside down T. It doesn't matter too much because when the card is assembled or standing up, you won't actually see it. So I'm going to take this square and move it up into the top corner after I've hit that unlock button. Just because once I've got in the corner, you can't really reach that unlock button. So I'm going to drag it and resize it. This piece is going to be 2 inches by 4 inches. There we go. So once I've got it pretty much the right size, I got 3.972, but I'm going to change the color again. As I mentioned, there's going to be score lines on this again, and I just want to be able to see them to make sure I've got them in the right place and they're straight and all that kind of stuff. The black makes it really hard to see, so, or the dark charcoal that it normally is. So going back into shapes, going to grab the score line and going to drag that over, and basically we're going to make 1/2 inch tabs on either side of this brace that are going to be glued onto the card. And sorry, I actually messed up here. It's actually going to be 4.5 inches because of the 1/2 inch. So I'm sorry about that. So we're actually going to grab it and put it at 1/2 inch, which is 2 ticks in. Drag it up so that it's within the space that we want it to be. And same as we've done for every other option, we're going to click that score line, and I actually just copy and pasted a second one so I didn't have to go back into shapes and grab one, but whichever way works better for you. And we're going to select the score line and select the background, click attach at the bottom right hand corner, and now it's disappeared the other one, so we're going to hit arrange and click move to back. And we're going to grab the other score line, click that backward drop, and hit attach again. And as you can see, we've got one whole piece. So I chose to do it the same coloring as the barbecue or the other upside down T bench piece because it'll, I don't know, I find maybe if there's anything you kind of see, it'll hide it a little bit. You really won't see it though. If you want to see this card made, it's actually going to be posted either this week or next, but I will give you an idea of how this will look when I do go to make it. So you can hit, I always have 8.5 by 11, that's what I have, and I will show you one thing. With this background, when I go to select 8.5 by 11 as my paper size, it doesn't give me an option. You can see here it gives you an allowance on the outside of the square, which is by no means larger than the piece of paper, so I always put a piece of 8.5 by 11 on regardless, even if it says 12 inch by 12 inch. I can see on the Cricut mat here on the screen that there's my 12 inch cutoff, and I have plenty of space even with the allowance around all edges. I'll have more than enough space, and since my landscape paper will go 8.5 to 11, I've got enough space there. I think it's just Cricut likes to make sure that you have enough space, so for whatever reason, it doesn't give me the selection to do 8.5 by 11. However, I always just load a piece of 8.5 by 11 paper onto my Cricut cut mat in a landscape way, and it always works. That way I don't have to use a 12 by 12, and I can use whatever color. Most of my cardstock is 8.5 by 11 anyways, so I'm not needing to do anything. So I'm going to just save this one here for you, and oops, save it, and just as a bench fold card template, and so that I can keep this if I ever need to make another card that is a bench fold. I don't need to make all of these measurements again, which is super nice to save it like that. So I'm going to go back to my projects, and I'm actually just going to show you the barbecue card, which I have already created. As you can see, here's the stable card, that was the U-fold card, and here's my barbecue U-fold bench card. So I'm going to click this up to show you what I've got made here. So I did actually go back in on this one, and this made this T piece into a light blue rather than a gray, and added all my elements on in gray and black. That part is totally optional and will definitely depend on what sort of project you're doing or what you're deciding to do with this. You can use this for so many things. I've seen people use it as a workbench card. I've seen people use it as a gardening center. I've seen people use it as a makeup vanity. There's so many really awesome options you can use with this benchful card. I just love how they look. So there's a few other things I might add to this card, like some wheels along the bottom and some barbecue utensils, probably some more food on top, but I haven't quite decided what else I want to be barbecuing on this card. I've got the barbecue lid here, which I've just lined up. So once I've got the card all set, and I'm gonna go make it. And that's all for today. I hope this tutorial was helpful. If anything, at least I gave you the measurements so you can go ahead and make your own card that will fit into a 5x7 envelope. I am hoping to have that barbecue card up by the end of the week so you can kind of see exactly how that template works. I have already posted the horse stable card. That is basically this card minus that top piece, so if you're interested in that, head on over to check that out. I will link it below in the description as well as in the iCards here. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, or you're interested in card making, or you just like to watch people make things, which is what I absolutely love doing, a lot of the times I find myself sucked into YouTube videos where I don't even intend on making the things they're making, but I love to watch people make things and it gets my creative juices flowing. So if you'd like to see more from me, please click that subscribe button down below. Oh my goodness, what am I saying? Subscribe button down below, and I will see you next time. Thanks, bye.